Okay, so here is my 2021 Marin Sausalito E2, I believe. Somewhat modified, but for the most part, nothing's been majorly changed. But I've had quite a few issues with the rear sprocket coming loose. Fortunately, let me just check it now. It doesn't seem to be a problem anymore, but that gave me a lot of headaches when I first got the bike. So one of the main things you'd notice if you were to Google Marin Sausalito E2 is the handlebars, or just generally probably the look of the bike. Let me jump back. I'll be honest with you, the changes I've made don't make it the most attractive bike, but functionally and comfort wise it really suits me. Before I used to have the bars raised all the way to the top here, but I actually really disliked how it looked, and I had a few comments from people I worked with about how I looked while riding it, and I like to think I wouldn't care about that kind of thing, but that would be a lie. I definitely do. So let me just show you on here. It's a max of 32. I don't know when I managed that. Probably going down a very steep hill. So that's the Odo. That's how far I've done on this bike. So we're getting very close to 4,000 miles. And that is over the space of, I think I got this in October of 2021 or thereabouts. So about a year and a half worth of use has given me that amount. I use it every day for work. For a bit of context, this is the first time since owning this bike that I've come out for a leisurely ride on my own. I've done it a few times with my parents, or once actually, but this has been a workhorse. I've tried to keep it pretty clean. Been told in the past several times by several people that I lube the chain too heavily, but this has actually just come back to me a couple of days ago because it needed a new derailleur, as the one I had was faulty. So this was replaced under warranty, hence why that looks really clean. Apart from that, I've had no issues with this bike. Apart from, again, if you were to look on Google at this model of bike, you'd notice the tyres are different on this. And if you were to buy this bike, unless you live on somewhere where the cycle paths of the streets are permanently swept for any bit of debris, replace the tyres. The ones that came with it, I can't remember what they were exactly, but they were like slick, and I had so many punctures, and I've been commuting on push bike quite a while, and I had in that entire time one puncture, I think. At one point it got so bad I had 3 punctures in 2 weeks, which I'm sure some people think isn't that bad, but when you're just using it to get to work, it's really frustrating. But I suppose one way of looking at it, I've got confident with changing inner tubes now, which I wasn't before. I've changed over to these tyres, which are Marathon Plus Schwalbe. I don't know how you pronounce that. Let's spin the tyre around. These ones. And I have had one puncture since getting them, to be fair, but that was bad luck. Punctures do happen, and I think because this bike is so much heavier than any of the bikes I've had before, and I'm assuming, but I'd guess that makes it more likely of getting a puncture. New tyres, I changed the handlebars, and now that was, so when I got this bike, for a bit of context, I was just looking for an improvement on my G-Tech Sport, which I had before. Never did a review on that, which I think is a bit of a shame. Quite like doing these. So I never did a review on that one, but I went to an e-bike shop, which is actually now closed, funnily enough. I took it out for a test ride, and initially the handlebars were all the way down here at the base of this stem, and they were very wide, mountain bike handlebars, and I was just hitting my knees when I went for my test ride. It was very uncomfortable, very hunched over, which is a bit strange. With an XL bike, you're going to think that someone's going to have the seat raised up, but for someone who's got the seat raised up, your handlebars were like beneath your knees. Personal preference. I probably need a slightly bigger frame than this even. Pretty early on got the riser, but kept the mountain bike handlebars. So that's the razor I got, and that improved things a little bit. But I was just so incredibly uncomfortable. Oh, this is another thing I did. I had this on my G-Tech, a wider saddle. Yeah, so I went for the big sort of almost Dutch style handlebars, which aesthetically does look a bit strange, I'll admit. Comfort wise, it improved things massively, along with the saddle, and also an additional, so there's a stem riser plus, I can't remember what these are called, but there's 2 risers on here essentially, which I don't know how good that is for the headset or anything. But I used to have this all the way at the top, and it did make me concerned that I was essentially like wrenching on the bearings down here. So I lowered it a little bit, and it's still very comfortable. So yeah, I don't know how good that is for the bike, if I'm being completely honest. But for me, I just needed it to be more comfortable. I was getting very uncomfortable on it to begin with. But I mean, if you look at all the components on here, Shimano, this is a Steps. I'll have to have a look and put a note. I think it's a E6 100 or something like that. Steps motor, Shimano battery, Shimano rear calipers, Shimano brake levers. But yeah, so it's all very high quality stuff. The only thing when I bought the bike is it was commented that the front shocks aren't the greatest quality. I've never had an issue with them, and I've also never had a bike that's had front shocks, so for me it's an improvement over not having anything at all. If you were to compare it with a bike that's got very good front shocks, you might think they're low quality. I've got this which needs a clean. That's rust unfortunately in there. I had a few tools that I must have put in there that were a bit wet. Rear bag, and it's on this, which is just connects and tightens there. There's no pannier rails or anything. That can carry up to 10 kilograms I think in this bag. Very good bag. I'll put a note on what exactly it is, because I don't remember right now. But yeah, so I noticed that there's absolutely no reviews on YouTube that I can find for this bike, this specific model and year, and that's something that didn't help when I was buying the bike. I couldn't find any reviews, so I kind of took a bit of a leap of faith. So I just wanted to put a review out there, so at least when people search for a review, they've got something, someone who's used it. So, you know, I've had this for 1.5 years, done almost 4,000 miles. I would recommend this bike. You might want to make the modifications I've made. I'd say the big wide mountain bike handlebars, I don't know anyone that's going to be mountain biking on this, so it didn't make any sense, to be honest with you. But it fitted more with the aesthetics of the bike than what I've done with it. So depends what you want to use the bike for. I'm using it for commuting. This was cheap, the risers were cheap, the seat is cheap. These are really cheap Amazon bars, this was, so you know, you don't have to spend a fortune to modify it to suit you. The only thing would be the new tyres. They were fairly expensive. I got them on sale. They are fairly expensive tyres as far as I'm aware, so yeah, just consider that in your budget. I would not recommend keeping the tyres that come with the bike. Yeah, just be warned on the tyres and the handlebars as they come, and the height of them in comparison to how you'll need to raise the seat if you've got this in a larger frame. You might be okay if you've got the smaller frame, but for me it was very uncomfortable to begin with. So I just realised as soon as I set off, I didn't actually mention anything about the performance of it as an e-bike. So I'm just kind of struggling here. I've got it on dark mode. Kind of struggling here to show the screen, but I think you can see it enough there. So you've got eco mode, normal and high, and you can cycle through several different screens that kind of show you range of your different modes. Range of the battery, I'd say, you know, I use it, I go 7 miles each way. Typically I will use it on the highest assist mode. However, I sort of cycle between normal and high. Today, on this sort of bit more leisurely ride that I'm doing, I'm keeping it on eco mode for a few reasons. I don't want to get too muddy because it's a little muddy out and I don't want to be going flying through this. Not to mention that I just don't have confidence in this kind of terrain, so I'm just taking my time, taking it easy. So if I was to leave it on eco mode, bearing in mind it was fully charged when I left, and I've probably only done about 5 miles, get another 73 miles. I wouldn't believe that if I'm being completely honest with you. For example, on the high mode, I do 14 miles a day. I'd get 1 day, but I do have one hell of a hill on the way back home every single day, so that probably doesn't help too much. Just looking up here and I'm thinking that's steeper than it probably looks on camera. That would be quite fun to ride down. But again, the comments I was making earlier about this not being a mountain bike, I wouldn't want to do it on this. Maybe just because I'm a bit too precious about it, because it costs so much money and I use it for work. Maybe just that. So yeah, normal mode, it's saying I'd get 50 miles. The days I use it normal mode, I can probably get 2 days out of it, so close to 25-ish, maybe 30 miles it could do. Should have paused the video there, someone else was coming by. It's getting a bit busier around here now. Very nice though. Yesterday went out for a walk and sun was blaring all day, made me feel a little bit sun drunk. Don't do well with the sun, but today it's pretty overcast, but it's nice and warm. It's a really nice temperature. Yeah, just one more thing I wanted to note. You might notice I've got a fender on the back, but not on the front. Used to have one on the front, connected up here, and you tightened it and it expanded and was supposed to hold in there. It just kept falling out, so I got rid of it. I keep meaning to get a new one because the water splashes up and in my face when it's raining, which isn't very nice. And I use this to commute in all weather. So that's a bit frustrating, so I need to sort that out, and it'll probably help with the aesthetics of the bike, balance it out a little bit as well. So yeah, I think I've covered all the points there. I'm gonna cycle on, and if I remember anything else, I'll stop again and just add on. But yeah, other than that, I think I'm about done. Looking forward to editing this and uploading it, to be honest. Yeah,